You're listening to Parasearch UK Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch UK Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Spirit Dimension with your host, Kerry Greenaway, right here on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Spirit Dimension. My name is Kerry Greenaway, and as you know, this show, we cover all kinds of different subjects, not just the paranormal. We look at all different aspects of the unexplained and the paranormal. Tonight, I'm joined in the studio by two lovely gentlemen all the way from Arizona, and they are known as the Law Brothers, and that is Ian and Connor. Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, you're very, very, very welcome. Now, guys, you're quite new on the old media front. I've only just recently come across you.
Yes.
But tell everybody what it is you guys do, because I really enjoy your videos.
Yeah, we kind of cover a broad range of the paranormal, supernatural, and the unexplained in general. We're not specialists of any one entity or any one subject in the paranormal. It's kind of a broad spectrum. We investigate various supernatural entities, look into the history, and find as much information as we can, boil it down and share the highlights with the public, people that may be dealing with these. For example, we did a video on La Llorona, the Boogeyman, Bloody Mary, and we look into the history of what these entities might be, and if there is somebody dealing with it, if there's a way to protect them, we try to share that information and give them a chance to defend themselves. Our show isn't dedicated to convincing anyone that these things exist, but helping the people that are struggling with them already. And
You come at it from a very educational point of view. You do an awful lot of work, don't you, before you go and do your videos.
Yeah, the majority of what we do is we read a lot.
Yeah, I mean, most of the work that we do is all just researching each individual entity and topic that we're going to be going over, and that's just because when we provide all of our videos and all the information in our videos, we want what we're showing to be
as accurate
and like truthful, and we want to keep it as real as we can, and
honest.
Yeah, and the lore itself that you research is just as fascinating as the stories you hear about people with ghosts and everything like that.
Yeah, we do there's no need for us to embellish our videos. We definitely keep it educational because it's already. I mean, this subject needs nothing extra, in my opinion. It's already something that's super intense, especially when people are dealing with it. It could be very scary, and we also we try to clear up some blurred information that a lot of people are confused about, in the sense that there's a lot of people that will confuse good and bad entities, and we try to really bring across there's a lot of good out there, and it's easy to get that confused, and it's easy to get terrified of it and react in the incorrect way. And there's a lot of lies. I don't know. Part of the research is really just digging through the false information and getting down to, the real stuff. It's man, I also what I try to do is I try to get people to be interested in investigating for themselves. I think it's important that people look into whatever they're dealing with or whatever they're curious about, because it's a whole world. It's so difficult to explain because it's so immense. There's so much.
There is. We were talking before the show. It is. It covers so many different subjects, and there is an awful lot of misrepresentation out there. So it is about the research, and we talked about going down rabbit holes and where it can lead you
endlessly
and take you into lots and lots of different directions. You have found that you're quite new to this. There's not a huge amount out there on your YouTube channel just yet, but you have looked at some of really incredibly interesting subjects so far. One of them was, you mentioned it a little earlier, was I can never say this word.
La Llorona.
That's the one.
La Llorona.
Can you tell us a little bit about that one, please?
Yeah, well, being that we're in Arizona, it wasn't a difficult one for us to look into. It's very popular in the southwest region of the United States and certainly in Mexico. But that's really where it originated, and then it's kind of grown, and it's kind of spread, and it's very popular. It's a tale of a woman who was very beautiful, and she expected only the nicest of things. And she meets a man who is just her perfect idea of what a man should be, has kids with him, falls in love, but this man got bored of La Llorona and left her. And there's many versions of this folklore, but in one of them, she takes her kids in an act of rage and revenge and drowns them in the river. And then she comes to and realizes what she's done. And she tries to chase the kids down and rescue them and ends up dying trying to save them. And the tale goes that she wanders the banks of the washes and the rivers looking for her children. If any kids go down by the river, she takes them and drowns them in exchange for her own. And there's a lot of people that I talk to that claim they've seen it. She's out there. They've heard the weeping woman. And it's fascinating. And even if it is just a story that was told as a cautionary tale to children, there's people that have personal accounts of that. She's there. We posted on our Facebook page must have been 40 examples of possible ghostly possessions by La Llorona, and these women that something happens and they kill their kids. And these are all real stories and real police accounts, and it's fascinating and it's scary at the same time. But it's something that we really enjoyed looking into, because there isn't a lot on YouTube in regards to La Llorona. There's some really cool stories that people have made, their own versions of like short films. But as for just a hard look into the research of who she is, there wasn't a lot. So it was cool to investigate and share.
Yeah, one of the really cool things about the episode that we did on La Llorona is we actually took the time to drive out to the San Pedro River Wash.
Yes.
Which is about, I want to say, between 30 and 40 miles from where we're at.
Yeah.
And it's an area where there's been a lot of recorded sightings of La Llorona and people hearing her basically weeping. La Llorona translates to the weeping woman.
Yes.
So we went to check that out, and what was really interesting when we went out there looking for is that washes. I don't know if you're familiar with washes, but washes here, because we get such heavy rains, it's where all the excess rainwater goes, and it creates massive flash floods.
Yeah.
So they're very dangerous. They carry a lot of debris. It's very muddy, murky
and it's fast
water, and it's fast moving. So it comes out of nowhere, and then it leaves just as fast. And when we were out there, you could feel a certain sense of, I think, energy in the air. Not necessarily from La Llorona herself, but in the particular area we were at, there have been a lot of deaths.
Yeah, there was crosses
right
there.
There were graves right there on the side of the riverbed.
And that's common in the Southwest.
Yeah, people get swept away every year here. And so to be in an area where people have commonly gone missing, you could definitely feel something a little uneasy in the air.
Yeah. But, we were out there and we made an effort to look for her and contact her, but we didn't end up finding her. And we always feel it's important to share, even if we find nothing, because I would rather us find nothing than try to fake something. I think credibility is key, and you want to be as honest with everyone and give them correct information. It is difficult folklore-wise because there is so much. There's so many versions, so you have to kind of sift through and find which one has the most rings true and share that with everybody. So that's kind of how the La Llorona episode played out. And afterwards, we've had a lot of people message us saying, I've seen La Llorona. I know 100% she's real. I've seen it with my eyes, and it's always fascinating to hear that. And I wish, and maybe one day what we'd like to do is go back and redo some of these episodes when we have maybe a budget to run off.
That's always key, isn't it, the budget?
Yeah, the budget. Right now, everything's run off my brother and I with a zero budget. If we do pay for anything, it's just out of pocket, and we do it because, number one, it fascinates us and we want to know more about what we're looking into. And I feel it's important to share these things. We started out doing this because our mom, who's a Wiccan, she had an entity visit her that was really it scared her, which is rare for her. She keeps her house very safe and warded, and she was really scared, and she was fearful it was a wraith, which was our first episode we ever did because of this situation. And so we tried to look into it for her, and we found nothing. There was, besides video games,
yeah,
lots
of video game, right?
There was nothing else about wraith. So it took us a long time to dig deep enough, find information about the wraith, and then forward it into a video, because we wanted, we figured if we're dealing with it, someone else is, and someone else is curious, someone needs help. Yeah, this is a way we can reach out to them on a large scale.
And like the average person doesn't have the resources to just reach out to a demonologist out of Mississippi or Maine or something. So where does like the average Joe go looking for information that's going to help them? They go on the internet. Yeah. And when we did that same thing, we couldn't find anything that was credible, anything that was helpful. And so we were like, well, we have a lot of pre-knowledge before this. Yeah. And I think that, we're going to be able to help people. So that's what we're doing now in a hopefully entertaining, educational way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, from my perspective, that is exactly what you are doing. Now, we have had a question in the chat room. Good evening to everybody in the chat rooms. Thank you for joining us. If you're listening, we do have an interactive chat room that you can link into. It's a little speech bubble down the bottom of your screen on the Spreaker page. What aspect of your research do you enjoy doing the most?
My favorite, hands down, is talking to people that have firsthand experience with whatever we're looking into. I make frequent posts on our Facebook page, and if you go through the comments, what you'll find is stories, different stories, and they're endless. They're from across the world, people in Ireland, the UK, Canada, Mexico, across the globe, that all share very similar stories to whatever subject we're looking into. We did a video on sleep paralysis.
Yeah, and that's an interesting subject, isn't it?
We looked into that and we shared it. And some of the stories people share are just amazing. It was fact is stranger than fiction, certainly in these cases. And I love talking to the public. I love listening to stories. I share my videos on a lot of paranormal platforms and get other people's perspectives for whatever we're talking about. And that's without question my favorite part is talking to people.
My favorite part, personally, for instance, when we're in the process of making the video where we're researching spirit attachments to certain objects, and when we have the opportunity to go out in the field and actually see some of these antique objects firsthand. For instance, there was not to give away too much, but there was a wheelchair from, when was it, the 1800s?
Yeah, 1810.
From 1810, a wheelchair that was used medically in 1810 in mint condition, and to be in the same room with an object
that has a lot of residual energy.
That much residual energy, that has that much history, and it's in such great condition, and the person who's introducing us to this object is so passionate about what they're telling us. Yeah. It's such an honor to be able to get that sort of experience on such an intimate level. So for me, to go out in the field and to step into the shoes of history itself, I mean, that's my favorite part. 100%.
For sure.
Oh, guys, all I can say is you need to come to the UK if you want history.
Oh, I know. Believe me.
I'm thinking, that's like yesterday in our country.
As I said, when our budget increases a little bit, there's a few UK, Ireland has some lore that we've read about that's just is so amazing that it's not even ones I want to touch until I can actually be there.
Yeah.
Because some of the lore that's across the globe is just incredible. Mexico as well. Mexico has some really old lore in it, and it's endless. It really is. This is a subject that I will never, ever run out of content for because there's so much. It's a whole another world, multiple worlds. It feels like it sometimes, and and I don't know. I'm excited to see where it takes us and to see what I can share with everyone, what we find, and we take suggestions all the time, and so that's how we're starting on the Ouija board. For instance, somebody was asking about that. They played with it, and then something happened, and so we have begun that video, and it's taking us to Colorado for this one. Oh, so we're excited. Yeah, so we're gonna just continue doing what we're doing and just moving forward.
Yeah, I bet your list of subjects to cover is huge at this moment in time.
Oh yeah.
So when you've got your list of subjects, do you then go, okay, I'm really interested in this particular one, so let's do that one next, or do you literally just follow down what people have requested and just tick them off as you go?
Well, it's kind of a case-to-case basis.
Yeah.
There's some people that are really scared about something that they're dealing with, and we want to help them. And we do our best through Facebook Messenger, but it's very difficult. You can do so much and give advice, but it's really hard to diagnose exactly what they're dealing with and then offer a solution into what may help, because if you offer the wrong solution, you could be causing far more damage than good. So we don't want to give people false answers. Mm-hmm. So it's a case-to-case basis. So if you're dealing with something, what we'll do, and we haven't made a video about it, we'll research everything we can, make a video that everyone can enjoy but still answer their in particular question.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I'm in continuing messaging with these people while I'm making these videos.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they don't want me to say their name by or what they're going through. So I try to keep them as private as they'd like us to, basically.
Yeah. When it comes to choosing like what entity or topic we're going to research next, it's just there's such a big there's just so many factors that play into that. We take a lot of requests from our viewers, and we do our best to do the ones that they want to see that are plausible and that are interesting. And then if someone needs help, on a certain case, then we can do that. Or if something really fascinates us that we think is just going to be amazing, then we're going to do that. Mm-hmm. So
for example, the Friday the 13th lore. The folklore behind Friday the 13th, which is significant to me personally, is because my brother was born on Friday the 13th. So his birthday is September 13th in just a couple of days. So I found it fitting to do a video about that. That's not a suggestion. That's just a personal curiosity to see what we can find and put together and share with everyone.
That's a whole ball game in itself, Friday the 13th, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's some pretty good lore.
We'll have to wait for the video to see about that one, I feel.
Yeah, there's some really good stuff that I've read already, and it's pretty fascinating, the lore that I've read about. There's just the number 13 by itself is got a lot of lore, which I didn't know, which I'll share more in the video. And so it's kind of an homage to my brother for that video, and that is just something that's important to me.
Well, happy birthday for a couple of days' time.
Oh, Thank you so much.
Do you want to tell everybody how old you're going to be?
Yeah, I'll be turning 21.
Yep.
Which is a pretty
21st
big
birthday,
age here in the
guys.
States. Yeah.
Yep.
A party? Are you having a party? Just out of curiosity.
We have a few things planned. Our mom.
I try to travel into the sixth dimension for my 21st birthday.
Yeah, that sounds like a
Our
plan.
mom. Yeah, our mom has some stuff planned for him, and I have some stuff planned. So we're gonna make sure he has a good time and make sure he survives to 22, and keep going. Yeah, so he's extremely mature for 21, and what we do. It's kind of difficult with a personal life. It's kind of strange to a lot of people don't talk about that, but it's difficult to mix in what we do to help people and go out and investigate things that are dangerous and then try to intermix as a normal person, because we've seen some things that are certainly not normal. It's something that we don't talk about a lot because it's got like a little damper, but he handles it really well, and I'm certainly proud of him, and I'm excited to see what else we can learn. I mean, you're 21 now, Connor, so
Yeah.
Imagine what you'll know when you're 30.
I know, yeah. It'll be.
It's wild,
10 years down the line, we'll see where you're at.
right?
Yeah.
Shoot, who knows? Really?
Now, this is one thing I really, really enjoy, is that you don't just sit there in front of the screen and just talk about it. You actually go out and
Yes.
investigate the law for yourself. You go out like you did with, I'm going to try and say that name, La Llorona.
La Llorona, yeah.
I'm so bad at that name. But you also did this with Bloody Mary, didn't you?
Yes, we did. We we knew somebody with a warehouse, and they allowed us to do that in their warehouse, which was risky upon itself. And we want to be as thorough as we can. A lot of times we just don't have it in our budget to afford to go. Like right now, Haunted Objects, we're going to be talking about Annabelle in honor of the movie that's coming out. So we can't afford to fly across the country to go see it in person, unfortunately. But we can go to the gentleman's house with the spirits that are attached to his objects, and we will. If we can,
We will.
we will. That's what we'll do.
It's not always so much the fact that we don't choose to, fly up to Toronto
Right,
to
we
research
can't.
like a Wendigo or something. It's just that sometimes it's just not realistic. But if we have the time and the resources to do it, we 100% do it every time. No question. Like, it's no question. If we can, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people who are in the field have exactly the same mindset. If you've got the funds and you can do it, you would do it. But it's all down to that horrible thing called money.
Yeah, it is. But what's great about what we do is there's a lot of stuff that doesn't require us to go anywhere. It adds an extra layer of entertainment because you can see us attempt to conjure spirit, and even if nothing happens, you can see that we make a valiant effort and we'll do everything we can to make it happen. But in cases like Friday the 13th, it's still going to be a fascinating video and doesn't require me to go anywhere. So there's a lot of options, and there are certain videos that I want to make that I'm putting off just until I can afford to do it. I want to go to places and see these things for myself. In a lot of cases, I'm just going to go back and remake the videos if I ever have a budget, because I think that if I could fly into Mexico and search for La Llorona as well, with some locals who have seen her, that would be something I would absolutely do. I'd remake the video.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
So just because we've made
always
it,
revisit things, can't you? That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because when you put something out there, it's only for me, it's like an hour show. What you squeeze into that, or in your videos, you just don't get to cover as much as you covered. I mean, again, we've discussed this. Case files can be huge, absolutely huge, and so much information about it, and that's discluding any personal accounts that you've come across. That is literally just on the subject. So then,
well, of course,
to then distill it down, it's incredibly difficult at times.
It is, and it almost you feel guilty. I when we make our videos, we try to keep them. A lot of people don't have a very long attention span, first of all, so hour-long videos aren't going. People won't want to sit down normally, so we try to definitely refine it and filter it into these videos, but there's so much more to these videos. And that's why I always say in my videos, look into this yourself if you're curious and want to learn more, because there is more. There's always more to what we've shared with you. And people will find things that we didn't share, like on the boogeyman. There's a different boogeyman for like every country. It's amazing. And I mean, if I was to try to cover that thoroughly, I'd be making a very, very long video. So I always encourage people at the end, you can look into this yourself, do some reading. You'll be amazed at what you find.
Oh, I completely agree with that point. We have had another question in the chat from Kyla. She says, with the Bloody Mary legend, who would you guys say is Mary? Because some say it's Mary Worth, and others say it's actually Queen Mary.
Well, the Bloody Mary video, we found that lore for both, and we looked into it, and it wasn't our personal conclusion wasn't so much that it was really either. What you're doing essentially when you're opening that portal with a mirror is you're inviting anything in. Mm-hmm. You're not just, it's called calling, when you call out and you open a portal into the spirit world and you're inviting things to come through. You could be calling Bloody Mary, but that doesn't necessarily mean Bloody Mary's going to come through. A lot of times people will do this and nothing will happen, but there are people out there, and it's in the comment sections on our page, that have done it, and some pretty intense things have happened. Yeah,
one thing that we've learned, especially when we did our best to conjure up Bloody Mary herself, is that when you use tools like a mirror, it's not black and white a lot of the times. Imagine like you have a window, and on the other side of this window is just blackness.
But it's full of
things. You're calling out to anything that hears you. So if you're going in and you don't take the proper precautions, if you don't know how to close down the portal, then it can be very dangerous. And I think a lot of times in some of the cases with, Bloody Mary and something negative coming through, that it could have just been a negative entity that heard the calling and was trying to come through the portal. And if the portal gets left open,
just like the Ouija board,
then they can still come through, which is really scary. And that's one thing that we usually try to get across, is that if you're going to do something like that, please learn just enough to keep yourself safe and shut it down once you're finished, because
protect yourself.
It's like
Safety is key.
It's like a door. You have to lock it. Because if you don't, they'll just come in.
Yeah. That would be my personal opinion, is that it's not so much either. It's you're calling out to an entire world, and whatever decides to come in, you let it in. So it's
completely. It's all about knowing how to open and close properly, and protect yourself whilst doing this
safety. And that's why everything we do where we work, we just have a ton of different things that help positive energy. We attract positive energy, and that's important to us. We want anything negative that tries to come into our lives to leave. We don't want it around us. I don't want it near my family. Certainly not near my son. And these are all things that we take very seriously. And I think a lot of people assume it's all fake until something happens. And then what do you do when what you assumed? It's like thinking Santa's fake, and all of a sudden he shows up at your door and he's a lot scarier than you expected. You know what I mean? It's pretty interesting, because I've seen people that are very sure of themselves that nothing is out there, and then something happens. And when that something happens, what do? You don't know, because it wasn't real. Mm-hmm. So it's for the Bloody Mary thing. I think you're inviting a lot in, and so it's neither, in my opinion. I think the stories are amazing, and I loved researching, and they're really, it's really sad stories. A lot of these are,
and a lot
really
of the
sad.
and especially in the Bloody Mary video, the history behind like Mary Worth and then the Queen Mary had a lot of real real history to it.
Yeah, these
so
things happen.
The things that happened with these individuals is just fascinating stuff.
Oh, completely. On that note, we're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back in just a moment.
All right.
Hello, Harry Price here. Good evening. If there's nothing myself and everybody else enjoy here on the other side more is the sit back and relax and listen to Parasearch Radio with its paranormal news, views and reviews from across the UK and beyond. Make sure to find out more about them on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web, whatever they are, to keep up to date with all their broadcasts throughout the week. And I hope you enjoy them as much as we do over here. Hello? Is anybody there?
Good evening. Welcome back to the Spirit Dimension. We are in the studio tonight with the Law Brothers all the way from Arizona, and we're talking all things folklore and how they work and all the different ways that they research as well. Now, the guys in the chat room, thank you so much for all your comments. Keep them coming. Some of them are saying that the energy and the passion is absolutely fantastic and that you make some really, really good points. So where did you guys start? I mean, you know, we know where you're at now. We know what you're doing now.
Right.
But where did you first start? Because your energy and what's said is your passion is so key and it comes over. So tell everybody how you got into this world.
This, you know, we were raised by our mom for the most part, and she's a Wiccan. And our aunt is a Wiccan, and she's also a medium. And so we've kind of been a part of this for as long as we can remember. And our mom has always practiced, you know, white magic and very energy. Everything's energy. And she's always raised us saying that. Everything is energy, and what you put out, you're going to attract. And so we were a part of this world forever. We definitely had a different household. There's a lot of religious households. We were the family that was Wiccan. And so what happened was we kind of grew up and we learned more because it's fascinating. And we helped some people that we knew personally. And then our mom had the issue with the Wraith that I told you about, which is kind of what led us to starting the Lore Brothers, because the information that's out there, be it incorrect or none at all, what are people to do? And our goal is we wanted to help people. There's just, you don't know where to turn, you know what I mean? And without sounding crazy, at least everybody thinks that an exorcism is what you need. That it's the fix-all Band-Aid, when that's not the case. And so we wanted to make a platform for people to reference when they're dealing with something. Maybe we will investigate something you're dealing with that you're struggling with, and we will suggest something that will help you. You know, we've shared posts about sage. We've shared posts about herbs and different herbs, gems, whatever will help you attract positive energy. And that's really key for us. My brother and I, you know, it's energy. Everything's energy. What you surround yourself with, the people you surround yourself with, what energy they're emitting. And so there was never a beginning for us besides the Wraith, I guess, for the Lore Brothers.
Yeah, as far as the Lore Brothers go, you know, I think that the beginning of our, you know, our quest or our journey on, you know, building a platform and a community that's going to help people, it's going to give people the opportunity to help each other.
Yeah, that's,
you know, that's when that kind of started, because we realized there's not good information out there, and if there is information out there, it's being executed poorly.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to get correct information. We're going to look at these entities or whatever we're researching in an honest, you know, entertaining way, and
if we find nothing,
and if we find nothing, that's fine. But what we're going to do is we're going to keep our credibility, we're going to keep our integrity, and we're going to present our information in an honest, true, educational, entertaining way in order to help people, in order to give people the tools to help their friends, you know, and that's kind of how it really started. We just have a deep desire to, I guess, make people's lives more positive, because we know what it's like to be surrounded by negativity, and it is hard. And sometimes when, you know, people feel like they're alone,
you know, you're not.
You know, you're not, because there's a community out here. You know, there's
a huge community.
There's us. You know, people can reach out to us. We read every message. We read every comment, and you know, they're not alone. And I think it's important for people to have that opportunity to get help or to give help, and that's
a place to share
information. And that's kind of, I think, what we're doing and going to do here with the Lore Brothers thus far.
Yes.
Oh, I totally agree with that, and particularly with the background of your upbringing, it's given you a deeper understanding of a day-to-day side of it, rather than just you know, going into a history book and picking out a subject. You know what I mean? You have that deeper knowledge of energy and how that works and how that can affect things.
It also gives us a good circle of contacts. You know, we have whole witch covens that we work with, and we have mediums in different cities that we refer people to.
Yeah, we work with demonologists, mediums. We recently just worked with someone who's actually part of the Mormon Church, and who also works with shamans. Like we're not only only working with one group of people. We're really, really diverse in especially in our lore, because you know, when you're researching lore, there aren't boundaries.
No, there's a lot of
and there's a lot of crossover between them, isn't there? So when you're looking at one way in a Wicca way, then you suddenly come across it in a shamanic way, and you think, hang on, that's really similar to each other. You know what I mean? It's we talked about, again, the rabbit hole where you end up veering off into different cultural lore, and distilling it down into a concept.
Yeah, and even with all the differences, what's fascinating is a lot of these have common denominators. They have a lot of things that relate to each other. So it's like one huge intermingled root system. I don't know even how to describe it. Yeah, one day I'd love to go back, because we keep notes on everything that we study and learn, almost like our own book that we are writing for ourselves. And then one day I'd like to go back and reconnect all the dots and just see where it takes us, you know, way down the line, obviously. Because I feel just already from what we've learned, it's far more connected, all of it, than I originally thought. And which is crazy, because a lot of the things we look into, the entities are so different, but they have a lot in common. It's wild. So I'm excited down the road just to go back and really retrace my steps and see what crumbs I missed.
Yeah, because that is the fascinating part of it. I mean, over here we talk about, you don't just look at the folklore and the history side of things. You end up looking into lots of other different areas as well, like physics and geology and meteorology, and there are so many other different aspects to it. Psychology, that's a huge part of it, isn't it?
Absolutely, definitely intermingles closely with a lot of the stuff.
And we also, we are very logical people as much as we are spiritual and whatnot. We try to look at everything from a very logical standpoint as well. Because if we get a message from somebody who's dealing with something, we don't want to prescribe them something that it has nothing to do. There is nothing. It's something that they could be dealing with mentally. Yes. You know, there's a lot of people that depression alone can cause so many symptoms, and even make you feel like there's something around, a heavy weight around you, and you may feel like you're being haunted or there's a spirit, when really you're depressed. You know what I mean? There's some simple answers to these questions, but we also don't negate the fact that there is a lot out there. I mean, infinite, really. And so we look at every side, every angle we can when we're dealing with somebody in their life, because it's far more important than a video when you're dealing with an individual. And I mean, these are people that are messaging us. They've reached out to us, complete strangers, for help. So we take it very seriously, and we definitely we don't want to misguide anyone. But the psychology aspect of it is super important, and it's not to be ignored, because if you did that, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah, and the people you're trying to help, you're doing them a disservice too.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, particularly when we talked about sleep paralysis earlier on. The psychology of that plays a huge part of that, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where the sleep paralysis episode became so interesting, because, you know, it's sleep paralysis is and can be scientifically attributed to like, I don't want to say an illness, but it is a condition.
Right, with REM sleep.
Yeah, with REM sleep and sleep patterns, like it's proven. Sleep paralysis isn't, like something you're looking for. Like, it's there, and there's research there behind it. But what's interesting with sleep paralysis is
there's a lot of unexplained
when you
things.
start branching away from that, and then you start reaching the unexplained sections of sleep paralysis, and then you can kind of connect sleep paralysis. So like one major question I had when I was doing the research was, okay, so could you use sleep paralysis as a tool similar to how you'd use a mirror to contact spirits on the other side? Or if when you go into sleep paralysis and you accidentally open this portal to a different dimension, does that like almost set off an alarm? Does that invite them to come in? So it's sleep paralysis is such a was and is, we're still studying it. I mean, I still look into that, and it was such an amazing episode, to look into.
That's sometimes the problem with studying these subjects is you'll oftentimes end a good 4-hour session of reading with more questions than you got answers. Then you're just left with, well, what about this? And my brother and I he has a desk across from me. My desk is the one that we film at. And we'll just look at each other and be like, dude, this could be another issue, or this could be attributed to this. And it just, you eventually have more questions than when you start. You start off with one and end up with 20. Yeah. And it's wild. So it's difficult in the sense to refine definitive answers. And we do our best, and we make sure that everything we're saying is honest, and that's why I think the videos. There's a lot of people out there that have done a lot more studying on subjects than I do, so I need to be on it. My brother and I want to be very, very confident when we make our videos of what we're saying, because if we are wrong, the internet will call you out. You will be. Yeah. It will not be difficult for someone has more knowledge on the subject. So whenever we make these videos, there is far more reading before we ever begin filming.
Well, we take everything we research very, very seriously.
Yes.
And we when we're researching it as if we were the ones who needed help.
Yeah.
And we take it very seriously, because when we put out a video, a lot of the times we realize like that this could be the thing that helps someone, or this could be the video that gives someone a little bit of hope. So, everything we look into is so serious. We look very seriously into it.
I think you have to. Like you said, that's where your responsibility comes in, particularly when dealing with somebody who has come to you for help. And like you say, you're putting yourselves out there in the media in whatever format that is, whether that's through social media or whether or not that's through YouTube. All of those things.
Right.
If you do come up against somebody who questions your knowledge, you've done the background work to back it up.
And if somebody was to come at us with, say they're a specialist in whatever we're looking into, I try to be very clear when I'm sharing my videos, and I say this in a lot of my videos, is that I am no expert. Mm-hmm. This is what I've learned, and I'm forwarding you the information that I have found.
Yeah.
There's a lot more information to this, and I encourage you to look further.
Yeah, we're not pretending to have a PhD in demonology.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And we're not printing out fake credentials,
but however, we are very thorough. So
you are, guys.
The information, and we talk to people as often as we can who are specialists into whatever, like the succubus episode. We have a person that literally has dedicated years of their lives only to conjuring succubus, Lilith, and her daughters. And so we're talking to him. This is somebody who's dedicated years of his life to doing this. And it would be ridiculous for me to make a video without consulting an expert. If I can, I will, just like traveling. So it's, we do our best, and we will provide as much information. We do the research. Behind the scenes, I always tell Connor we should do a separate YouTube channel of what the real supernatural brothers do. It's just a lot of reading.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of reading. Yeah. It's not as active and going as you'd think. It's a whole lot of sitting, reading, and then finding out what you just spent 5 hours reading about is wrong. So
Gosh, yes.
I mean, you understand. You're somebody who does this also, so it's hard to depict. It's difficult, but it's something that I love doing. So it makes it easier. And even if I don't ever consider it time wasted.
No way. Anytime you're dedicating yourself to something you really care about, whether it was wrong or right or in between, you're still left with questions.
Yeah.
It was still time that was spent well because
you enjoyed it.
Because you enjoyed it, and because what you're doing, we care about what we're doing so much. And and we try to make that come through in our videos, and we try to make that come through in our research. And if there's one thing him and I, my brother and I do, it's we put everything in us into our videos, into our work.
Yeah.
And as we gain more followings, as we get even a small budget in the future, it's just going to come through even more.
Yeah.
And I think we're on the cusp here of something just truly great.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the things that we're going to research are not only going to help a lot of people, but be groundbreaking for the paranormal field, and hopefully make the paranormal field less of a taboo subject.
Yes.
I think that we're going to play a really vital role in the normalization of the paranormal, kind of creating a bridge between those who don't believe and those who do, so the people
they're still going to be the
talk
naysayers,
to each other.
That's every field.
Of course, and I do find this at the moment. I say, I talk to a hell of a lot of people all across the world, and I've found this as well. This drive to push the field forward and do it in a different way to what is already out there, and it is the focus is on the educational side of it and covering all different aspects of it and showing the work that goes on behind the scenes to actually do what you do, to be credible and know what you're talking about, and that is something that is so key.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. I think that it's. I hope one day that we can look back and really be proud. I mean, I'm already proud of where we've come. We started this not thinking it would gain any traction. We were really making it just as a way to help the wandering person looking for answers. And just in the past few weeks, we went from like 100 followers to almost 3,000.
Yeah.
So it's really what took us back. We didn't expect any of this.
No,
we didn't expect to be interviewing out of London.
Yeah.
That idea to us was I would have laughed at somebody. It would be unrealistic. This was all started just as a simple way to help that person looking for answers and be credible. So hopefully we can help them find it. And now that we've gotten here, I don't even question. I have no idea what comes next. We're just going to keep going and, man, just see where it takes us. And hopefully we can gain a platform where we can really reach out and make a difference. I mean, that's the key, right? You want to make a positive change as much as you can, and we're doing it in our own way. I feel like this is something that has always been around us. And it was almost, we talked about it. It's so weird. We've been surrounded by it our entire lives, and it's almost like it's been right there for us just to grab and move
we just
forward.
we just never
thought
connected the dots.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And then all of a sudden,
that's how life is. Like,
all of a sudden you've been taken on this leg of the journey, and it's paying dividends to you. Because you are reaching the people out there, and people are loving the work that you do. Now, I just want to tell you a few comments that are going on into the chat room. Richard Clements, these guys certainly make sense, offering people an education resource, particularly looking into the folklore, which is an important aspect of the paranormal, but is entirely overlooked by a lot of people in the community.
Mm-hmm. So I 100% agree with that. And I think it is overlooked. There's a lot of television shows, the big production shows, that really don't share or help at all. And it's mind-blowing. It almost hurts the community.
Yeah. It's like the lore behind all these things that we're researching is so rich. Yeah. And to not even give them the light of day, not even to give the history the light of day, is almost insulting to the history itself. Really, so it's disappointing that it's not being done already, but I'm thankful at least now we have the ability to provide this rich history, the folklore in an educational, entertaining way.
Yeah,
I totally agree. Ashley Nibb, who's one of my partners in crime who I work with back in the UK, he said, yes, that's the paradox of paranormal phenomenon, that you get more questions than answers when researching. Many a night is all I can say.
Oh, man, late nights.
Yeah, sometimes all you have is that lamplight, and
you're just reading. Ticking. But it's okay though, because it drives you further, because you want to answer these questions, or if you can't answer them, try to gain an understanding as best you can. And it's like the biggest puzzle in the world. Yeah, and you're trying to put all these pieces together.
It's like a Rubik's cube with a puzzle on each end of the square.
Yeah, it's wild.
So it's the most complex maze that you could try to solve, and every time you answer one out of your 50 questions, it feels like a big accomplishment.
Yeah, it does. And you feel, and it drives us forward. And I've never felt so far that I was like, well, I just wasted 5 hours. I've never thought that. And it's just, I learn and I grow, and you become wiser as you do it. And I think there's no failing in that.
No, I completely agree, because even if you've spent a whole night, I mean, there are many times I've sort of like been doing research and getting my head down, and then I've looked at the clock and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, oh my God, I suppose I ought to go to bed at some point. You know what I mean? I've got a day's work tomorrow.
Yes.
But I may not have found the piece of information or the relevant contact or source that I needed, but I would have learned so much else that may come relevant to something different.
You're right. And I agree. I think you're on it. And what's cool about this is that there's you and other folks out there that are doing what we're doing and can understand and empathize. And like, oh my gosh, I've been there. I've read for hours and ended up with more questions. And that's good. We're all people that are giving life to history. Yeah. And it's such a forgotten thing. And like the History Channel is almost taboo because people think it's boring. And if we can make it entertaining, and with our specific field, paranormal, supernatural, unexplained, man, that's such a big accomplishment to me. And the fact that we have people that are excited to see what we have to share, in my opinion, we've accomplished exactly what we want.
Yeah, and the scope in which we're going to be able to continue doing our work, and the range of people we're going to be able to reach is just going to get bigger. And I just am so excited to be able to get to the point where, we can provide content that is just,
if we can travel,
to be able to
talk to these
to be
people.
able to travel, to be able to have interviews with more and more experienced people and whatever we're researching. It's just going to be a pleasure, and I'm really excited because it is going to happen, and it's only a matter of time, really. Yeah. So, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, when I saw your videos, I actually thought, gosh, how refreshing. It's actually really refreshing to see that perspective and, see people that are actually doing the work that's needed to research the subjects. And I know it's all condensed down into short videos at the moment, but you can tell from those short videos how much work has gone into it. And not just that, but I love the fact that you go out and explore it as well, like with the Bloody Mary and the other one that I can't say.
La Llorona. Yeah,
that's the one.
It feels good to us because there's so much time put into those short little videos. Oh, yeah. So when people watch them and forward their information to us, they're like, hey, I really liked that. That was informational and entertaining. I loved it. I can't wait for another one. It just boosts us further. I mean, we put a lot into these short little videos, a lot, and days turn into 5 minutes on film. Yeah. And there's a lot of red-eyed, tired nights that we try to learn, and with a lot of writing and a lot of information, and it's just a lot of work, but it's okay. We enjoy doing it. And then when people like it, I mean, you can't ask for more than that. that's the best feeling, because you put all this into it and people respond in such a great way. And I don't know, I'm excited to see what else we can accomplish with this, because so far I'm fully satisfied and I'm really, really happy and excited to move forward.
Oh, most definitely. Now, in your day-to-day life, when you're not being the Law Brothers, do you have any rituals or protections or ways of working on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah. Well, one key thing that everyone can do, and I always forward this to everyone, is honestly, positivity is such a underestimated value you can have. If you can stay positive and put out positive energy, you'd be amazed at what just that can accomplish. The mind itself is such a powerful tool. If you can harness the power of your own mind, I mean, that's a subject that we could talk about for a long time, but that alone, you can literally turn almost any circumstance into something that you can survive and move forward, no matter how negative it is. That's huge. And then there's also the extra things that people do. Like my mom raised us with sage.
A lot of candles. We do a lot of candles because certain candles can be charged for different things
depending on your intent.
Yeah, and like one of the things that we do, like what he said, is working pretty closely with the local witch coven.
Yes.
And they offer a lot of really positive insight on protection and things you can do just to increase the positive energy around you. So if you're, for instance, looking for a way to increase the energy in your life, I'd reach out to maybe like some local people that are into that kind of stuff, like a local witch coven, for instance, because Wiccans. The Wiccans, the place that we work with is just been great and really informative and I think really helpful for us. So yeah, like a lot of candles.
We have a lot of energized candles, energized herbs that we use. My brother and I both carry the same crystal that our aunt gave, and I'm no crystal expert. I wish I knew more about them, but our aunt, who has always been there, she's just a master with this stuff, and we both have a necklace that is around our necks all the time, and it's, I don't know a lot about crystals, but I can tell you I feel better with it.
Yeah.
And that alone to me is, I'm happy to have it. And down the line, I'm sure I'll be doing research into crystals and try to learn more so I can share it with people. But of course, I think if you can use the earth around you,
yes,
there's so much energy in it. And I always recommend people to look into it. It's sometimes the answers are more simple than complicated. It doesn't have to be a seance or something that's more complicated. You can, something as simple as sage, to help bring in the positive energy and push out the negative energy.
Or another really cool one is like the concept of feng shui.
Yeah,
keeping your home, clean, like really clean, flowing.
Yeah.
Nothing where energy can get blocked up in. That's something I really, really believe in. I think like a place where energy can move in, and it makes for a more positive atmosphere.
You want to feel good at where you're spending the majority of your time.
Definitely.
And I think that is all really important. I think there's so many different layers. There's no one thing that my brother and I do on a day-to-day basis where we do a seance of any kind. I think we don't need to. I don't feel the need to. If I do feel the need to, I'll take steps to do some extra things. But for me, on a day-to-day aspect, I try to remain as positive as I can. I surround myself with positive people, and I take these crystals seriously, and I'd like to learn more, but this helps. Sage. I sage my house regularly. I have energized candles in my house that I light every night. Certain ones I light on certain days. But it's all, it's hard for me to answer that because it's what works for you. I'm my own person, so what works for me may not work for someone else. And I encourage anyone listening to really discover what makes them happy, because that is the most important thing you can do.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You have to, that's the key to anything. It really, paranormal or otherwise. The goal is to wake up and go to bed feeling good about your life. Feel as as positive and hopeful as you can. And if it's crystals that do it, then utilize it. If it's herbs or whatever, everybody's unique. Everybody's an individual, and certain things will help them. So I would encourage them to try to find that. I think that's
totally agree with you. Well, we are coming to the end of the show. Thank you so much for joining me. Can we just tell everybody where they can find you?
Of course, we are the Lore Brothers. We're on Facebook. My brother just started a Twitter account for us under the Lore Brothers. We have our YouTube channel. You can just type in the Lore Brothers, and you will find us. If there's any questions anyone has further, feel free to message us in our Facebook page. We answer every single message. So
that's fantastic. I have been sharing the links in our chat room, so guys, you can still access the chat room even when the show has gone to a podcast if you want to find those links. But lore is spelled Lore. Just putting that out there rather than the other kind of the other kind of lore. And on that note, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll talk again at some point.
Oh, definitely.
I plan on it.
Thank you for having us. Really, that was just a great experience, and really appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh no, you guys are very, very welcome. Now, don't forget, we have shows going out every single night of the week, Monday through to Friday, and next Sunday, obviously. Check us out. Don't forget to check out Parasearch's like page and group page on Facebook. We are on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel over there as well. And don't forget, all the shows go to podcasts. So if you miss any of them, you can listen on catch up through the Spreaker channel or through our YouTube channel. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you so much for listening. Thank you for joining us in the chat room. Big shout out to you guys. It's been fascinating watching your comments as well. And thank you, the Lore Brothers. Thank you, Ian and Connor, for joining me.
Of course. I'm excited to do it again.
Cool. That's no problem at all. And on that note, farewell, everybody, and thank you for listening.
Farewell.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.